Hi everybody, welcome back to the Monkey Podcast. Yet again, the podcast you didn't know you needed. This is episode 6, perhaps. It is the 7th of January. So we've been through Christmas, New Year. I kind of left you guys alone, mainly because I just didn't have time. Is what it comes down to. It seriously was the most mental peak period imaginable. Work's been mental, outside of work's been mental, loads going on. Yeah, crazy. So I haven't really sat down and recorded until now because obviously I wanted to do fun things with Christmas songs and all that stuff, but well, what can you do? Now, I haven't taken the liberty this year of putting a Bad Religion song on the front of this episode, just because, well, let's save them for next year, shall we? So what kind of has been happening? There have been some lessons learned over the Christmas period. I had the girls from Christmas afternoon right through until the Thursday following for a few days, which was great to have them here. But the one thing that needs to be learned is the fact that I'm not as smart as I think I am. When you're playing board games, you're never going to win, even if you try. And I'm not one of those people who let people win either. Never, ever, 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 as a second lesson, leave a bird table out over the Christmas period, fully stocked, but in a pot rather than rooted into the ground. Because all that happens is big fat pigeons come and land on it and destroy the place. 6 times I think I picked up the bird table out of the back garden. Yeah, it just doesn't work well. And the other big lesson to learn, and this is a promise to everyone, I will never, ever, ever buy a real tree again. Got one this year, and the girls were really fascinated, really, really wanted me to get one. So got one, put it in this little standy thing, those little tripod-y things, screwed it all together, it was all great. Didn't quite reach the trunk stem. It's a tree. The trunk was a little bit. That's not the greatest image of hand position for me to have, to be fair. The trunk was too narrow for the grips to put in. So what I did was I had loads of packaging over, obviously from going through. So I folded all the cardboard up, stuck it in the bottom, wedged it in place, and it was amazing. However, different companies obviously manufacture cardboard in a slightly different way. In fact, Amazon have designed their cardboard to break down quickly. Yeah, because obviously they want to do this big carbon neutral thing. So it breaks down, especially when you put water in it. So me thinking, real tree, it's gonna drop pine needles stuff if it dries out. Stacked it all up, put the water in the bottom, it was fine for about 20 minutes. Then the cardboard turned to sludge, squished together, and the tree just came straight crashing down. Luckily, nothing broke, which was great, and between us, we kind of wrestled it all back up into place, and it didn't do that again. Never do that again. When it's come time, and I've literally just got shot of the tree. It's now sitting out in the garden drying out, and we were together. There was literally an inch deep, big ring of pine needles all over the floor. So next year I'm getting a plastic one because I ain't doing that. Thankfully, I have laminate flooring, which is great. If I had a carpet, I'd still be picking pine needles out myself in September. But yeah, we've got that far through. But it was a great Christmas. It was great to have the girls. But that extended period of time to the point that there were tears when it was time to go home, from not just them, to be fair, and getting to the point of having that conversation and saying really don't want to go. It's been great, and it was lovely to have them. But yeah, what can you do, eh? They have to go sometime. So that was Christmas. I hope everyone had a great Christmas, a great Hanukkah, whatever you want to do it, whatever. denomination, neutral kind of belief system you celebrate in the same period that Christmas appears. I refer to it as Christmas because obviously Christmas. But if you, whatever you survived, I hope you had a great time. I hope you had a great new year. I currently, with regards to kind of the knitting side, I have nothing I can show you that's a current work in progress. I have had a finished object which I put on Instagram, and I'll put a picture of it in a second, which was a present which I finished on the 23rd, ready to pop round and drop it off. It was a Really You Love Me by Susan Cordino, and it was for a friend's daughter which had a bit of a rough year. So it was just let's just do something, and we got talking about it, and she'd never encountered kind of a guy who knitted before. So we got chatting, and I said I would make it for her. So there it is, and literally I gave it to her, she unwrapped it, and that was it. Apparently it doesn't leave her side, so that's the perfect kind of thing that makes something knit worthy, I think, in that respect. Just bear with me. Oh, coffee. If I look a bit pale, if I'm slightly washed out, I am completely exhausted. It is 1:53 p.m. I have had about 3 hours sleep and just about surviving. But I thought I would sit down and record anyway. So the second thing, there's 2 projects on there. One I can't show you because it is a pair of socks and it's a present, and I know the person who they're for watches, so you ain't seeing them. You are not getting a sneak peek. It ain't happening. But the other one is a needle adjacent project. Now, I'm going to show you a yarn in a minute that some of you might recognise, but it's going to be for what's called the Easy Knit Hat by Joan Laws. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I haven't cast it on yet. It's a needle adjacent project, but it is using something truly exceptional and something there isn't a lot of, and this is Jinx Yarns, and this is the Everest colorway. Now, cast your mind back to another life, and some madman had originally had an idea for a project where, during a discussion with a certain person, the thought had come up that names for yarns, for a certain theme can be so drastically different. Let's create something that, give some dyes a theme and let them go off. And this was one of them. This was 7 Wonders of the World, and Laura and Kristen Birnbein both joined in. And this is what Laura came up with, and it's lovely. It is a superwash merino, 218 yards, and it has its worsted weight, which is perfect for a hat. And it's really soft. It's going to be awesome on my head, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. So that is the next project to go on the needles alongside the socks, because obviously I'm not going to be able to show you the socks until they're done. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what's going on in the knitting world at the moment. The only other thing to say with regards to the knitting world itself isn't to do with projects. It's more to do with a thing. The thing being, after talking to someone who shall remain nameless, but it was a very lovely conversation. It was great to actually catch up with this particular person. They spoke to me about the possibility of, because they're going to EYF, which is the Edinburgh Yarn Fair, the Yarn Festival, whatever you want to refer to it, but the possibility had been discussed that I take a jaunt. I mean, I've got family up there anyway, just outside Edinburgh and Glasgow. So to go up, spend a few days milling around, see some family, go to EYF, hook up with some people, have a bit of a laugh, probably spend a lot of money, and then return home. So the thought is I may go. Yeah, I've had a look at it. Whether I train up, whether I fly up, I don't know. We will just see how it goes as we go along. But if there's anyone funny, interesting watching who's going, let me know. Because it would be kind of cool to catch up with people. I know there's people in the podcast lounge and stuff who would be quite fun to catch up with. But obviously, just hang, drink coffee, buy stuff. So yeah, let me know if anyone's going for that. Okay, so that's kind of the crafty bit kind of done at the moment. Let's talk about the usual. There is some geekery coming up because just for Christmas I took Kim to the cinema for her birthday, and we will get into that in a minute. But I want to talk to you first because obviously it has been Christmas, and I did say, obviously I wouldn't put one of the Barrel and Christmas songs on the start of the episode, just for a bit of a change, really. So I want to talk about Christmas number ones, okay? Because there's no real surprise what the Christmas number one was in the UK. I don't know what happened in America. I haven't really looked at it. But there has been one guy who has been everywhere this year. Last year as well, but this year just gone. So 2017, absolutely everywhere. I mean, he released an album on download, individual songs, and he had 10 of the top 12 singles positions in the charts for, I think it was about 5 weeks. Absolutely just an incredible achievement, and obviously, testament to his talent, because the guy is fundamentally likable. He has a good voice, he writes some decent tunes. It's not really the sort of music I want to sit around and listen to a lot, but you cannot fault the little ginger guy. However, the little ginger guy saying that the cavern next to is the worst gig he's ever had, obviously is going to colour me to him, so he doesn't get featured. His songs don't get featured on my podcast. No. I refer, of course, to Ed Sheeran. Just a remarkable achievement. Perfect was number one, and she's beating off Eminem, who had also released a single at Christmas. Now, this got me thinking. Obviously, Christmas number ones traditionally have been of a certain type. For a number of years, it was always kind of, Cliff Richard was number one like every single year for going along. We had the epicness of E17. The Pogues and Customer Call and all these sort of Christmassy songs. And then came the X Factor. Okay, now I know the Americans have X Factor. I think there's an X Factor in Australia as well, if I remember rightly, but there's obviously a similar kind of idea. The basic idea is you throw a bunch of people out to the public eye, feed them to the public until the public gets sick of them, and pick the one they're least sick of, make them the winner, and then you release a single when it gets to number one. That happened pretty much every year for quite some time. And I can't say too much about the X Factor as an entity, because although the idea of it is kind of abhorrent, it is extraordinarily watchable from time to time, and it has generated some decent talent out there. I mean, love or hater, you cannot fault Leona Lewis's voice, especially her version of Ron, which is just amazing. But somewhere on the line, there will always be one person in that show who you feel really sorry for. Now, normally it is someone you really like who goes out really early, someone you don't expect to go out. But in this case, the one person I feel sorry for is going back to 2009, so even it's a long time ago now. But it was actually the winner. Now, the winner was a little fella called Joe McElderry. Yeah, completely inoffensive. Cool. I'm still recovering from a cold as well, so this cough is kind of sticking around. He was just a kind of likeable guy, no major backstory. He loved his mum, all that kind of really kind of sweet, nice young lad. I think he was 17. They decided to release a cover version of The Climb, which was by Miley Cyrus, who is an insidious little beast. So, you know, it works. However, during this year and the run up to Christmas, there was a couple, and they were called John and Tracy, and I can't remember what their surnames are now, it's escaped me. But they sat in their kitchen having a chat, listening to obviously people on the radio talk about X Factor, and they said, no, we've had enough of this now. So they had a conversation that was a bit of a joke. Posted it on Facebook, obviously the conversation, and then suddenly it snowballed. And it snowballed to a fact that Joe McElderry didn't make it to Christmas #1. What got there in place was either a stroke of genius or a massive insult, one of the two. But the song that got there was a re-release of a single that first came out. The single was released in '93. The album came out in '92. Now, I've gone through this a couple of times now, and I will reiterate it again. 1992 was the year that I was 16, 17. Okay, 1992 was also one of the greatest years for albums ever. Whether they were released at the end of '91 or beginning of '91 and beginning of '93, that whole period with that whole chart battle, and people saying, oh yeah, this is being released and that's being released, and we had Pearl Jam 10, and we had Nevermind, and we had Sebastopol Road by Mega City 4, and we also had a very small album, a debut album by a otherwise unheard of genre of music in the UK, which was a rap metal fusion. Yeah, it never really happened. It spawned a load of people like cloning them, as it always does. The sort of style gets into fashion, and suddenly we had Papa Roach and all coming around, and obviously Limp Bizkit. But the first and the mightiest, Rage Against the Machine, from their debut album. Now, the song that made Christmas #1 was Stroke of Genius as an example of the power of social media and the power of a campaign against something, and it shows that it does work. However, had they not appeared on live on the radio and behaved like a bunch of idiots and didn't even think to cut their song, there would be a lot more respect for what they actually did. But I'm going to play it for you anyway, because why not? So here is the 2009 UK Christmas #1. So there you have it. Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine was a Christmas #1 in the UK. I don't know what happens in America, whether you have the same kind of weirdness that we have over here musically, but I just like to point out the first time that was released, it got to number 18 in the charts. It just didn't do anything, it just ticked along in the background. The album was a phenomenon with all the kids my age. I think everyone owned it. I still have a copy on vinyl. That's how kind of groundbreaking it was. And it was one of those albums, like Nevermind, that introduced a whole new generation of people to a type of music they'd never listened to before. Yeah, Seattle grunge came out with Nevermind and this rap metal fusion with Rage Against the Machine. So there you have it. So poor Joe released his album and then disappeared without a trace. He has apparently resurfaced doing some musical theatre work, but yeah, you were destroyed by Rage Against the Machine. So sorry about that, mate, but these things happen. Right, now, the topic that has been burning a hole in my brain for the last 3 weeks now. It was Kim's birthday on the 19th, so on the 18th, I worked on Sunday, woke up really early for me, got up, dragged to the cinema, we sat and watched The Last Jedi. Okay. Now,
For anyone who hasn't seen it, okay, there's going to be some mild spoilers coming up. Only mild spoilers because it's been everywhere, so if you read anything, anywhere, you are probably safe. However, you may want to not listen if you definitely haven't seen it, you really want to see it, and you've been avoiding everything, because it's a weird film. That's how I describe it. It's genius. It gives a massive and new scope to a lot of different bits and pieces to do with the Star Wars universe. But it also doesn't sit right. Something just doesn't feel right, and it's hard to explain, but I will try. First of all, it's the first film in the Star Wars franchise that actually starts off exactly where the last one finished. That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the last thing in The Force Awakens is Rey holding up the lightsaber, and Luke, just staring at her. Big beard. And then obviously, it leaps straight into the second part of that conversation, which works phenomenally. So you have on one side of the galaxy, you've got Rey, Chewbacca, and R2-D2, and on the other side of the galaxy, you've got Finn, still in a coma, Poe, who is a bit of an arse. To be fair, for quite a lot of it, the boy has issues. And then you've got a couple of new characters brought in. Now, the basic premise of it, for the most part, is the greatest moment that everyone seems to hate. And I actually just made me almost squeal with delight. Is Rey hands up the lightsaber to Luke, and Luke just picks it up and just chucks it over his shoulder really casually and walks off. I loved it. Yeah, I mean, yes, the guy has had issues. We know that the guy had issues with the Knights of Ren, and with Kylo, especially, whatever he did then. It makes sense. He's run away, effectively, he's hiding, so why does he want a lightsaber? What it transpires is not the fact he doesn't want it, it's the fact he doesn't need it, which is even better. What's the point in someone who is that powerful needing a lightsaber ever? Why should any of the Jedi ever have needed a lightsaber? It's one of those things. They look cool, but if you can chuck stuff using the power of your mind, why the heck do you need a laser sword? What's the point? So the whole premise of Rey chasing Luke around, Luke obviously coming to terms with the fact of that she ain't going away, seeing R2, and then begrudgingly agreeing to teach her, but assess her, and seeing something in her that he didn't like to see, something he couldn't have foreseen happening, something that scared him, was amazing. And the fact that he still tries to teach her, because she shows that spark that we would assume Obi-Wan saw in him, because obviously he was the son of the most evil Sith in the world ever. And I would assume that Ben saw that in him and ignored it. Twice. History repeats itself, Ben. Well done, mate. So there's that side of it. The other side of it, the very, very, very brave choice to not kill Leia. Part of it feels like Rian Johnson just went, you know what, I'm not doing the next one. Screw you guys. You deal with it. He blows the ship wide open, she gets flipped out into space, and she uses Jedi powers for the first time. In a way that made my heart happy. But there's nowhere for it to go. This is the problem. They've set up this thing which is amazing, and there's nowhere for it to go. They have publicly said that they will not CG her in the same way they did Moff Tarkin, which I think is a great thing, because they shouldn't have really done him, to be honest. But they have talked about the possibility of recasting Leia, which will anger a lot of the hardened geeks. And I'm a hardened Star Wars geek, but I would still rather they recast her if they needed to do anything. than, CG'd her over the top. I can handle another actress playing a character. I have seen the entire Star Trek history be rewritten, and a new cast come in, and you accept those. So just accept the fact that, this isn't Cheryl leaving in Neighbours for 4 weeks because she was ill, and getting someone in and not even mentioning it, and just hoping people didn't notice that she was far more appalling than the original actress, and then the other actress coming back. Yeah, it's not that. This is a widely publicised tragedy that has befallen everyone. The good thing about it is Leah, obviously, she does quite a bit. She's quite pivotal in the film, but she's not overstretched. The key moment, obviously, is her reuniting with her brother for what looks like the first time in a good number of years. Well, apparently, since, definite spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the film now, mute the mic, I'm about to. This is going on despite the fact that Luke, her brother, tried to kill his own nephew, which is why he got a bit irked and went over the dark side. You're kind of going to expect it, aren't you, really? I think if someone tried to wave a laser sword in my head while I slept, I'd probably be irked by it as well. So, there is that. Okay, there is this kind of weird physical, spiritual attraction thing between Rey and Kylo, where they can kind of see each other. There's Kylo's gratuitous topless shot, which is really gratuitous, just become a thing. Kind of gutted there wasn't one for Rey, but that's just old pervy me thinking about it. But consistently, and Adam Driver has grown on me. I hated him in the first film, not because I thought he was a bad Kylo. It's just the fact that I didn't want him to take his mask off. He should have just kept it on. It would have been cool. But it works fine. He's growing on me as an actor. He is an impudent child. He's not even has the emotional maturity to handle the power he's got, which kind of harks back to Anakin in the prequels, who obviously was a very wooden impudent child, but an impudent child nonetheless. And the raw power he must have, that obviously no one kind of noticed in the way he deceived Snoke, genius. And that entire scene, no one had seen it coming. No, in the whole cinema, I went completely quiet when I went to see it. I normally am quite smart with regards to that. I knew he wasn't going to kill Rey, but it was only at the very last minute that I realised what exactly he was going to do. And then he did it, and it was amazing, and it made me laugh and cheer a little bit, maybe, in a geeky way. And then, off they go. So now we have an amazing setup for the next film, with Kylo as the chief of the First Order, which bodes really, really well for everyone because the guy's a psychopath. He's not calculating the coal like the Emperor. He's not driven like Vader. He is just mental, which is cool. I quite like. So, what happens next? I really am interested to see. But let's talk about the ending. Kylo and his mentalness while he's in the walker on the planet, assaulting the rebel base, and outstrides Luke onto the battlefield, takes everything the walker could throw at him without even blinking. Kylo jumps down to have a bit of a tete-a-tete with him and tries to strike him down, and it fails. Then this is what comes back to the lightsaber. This is why the lightsaber was such a key point. This is why Luke didn't need it, because the guy's so powerful, he's on another planet and he's projecting himself across the galaxy. Obviously, it's a cost, a fairly major cost, and it has, to be honest, made me worried in some part about the last film. We know Leah's got to go. It would be a very apt way, because obviously Carrie has died in real life. It would be very apt for her to pass away in some noble way in the last film. But we've lost Han Solo in The Force Awakens and Skywalker in The Last Jedi. I tell you what, J.J. Abrams, you could take R2, you can take C-3PO, you can bring back Lando and have Death Star land on his head. I do not care. There are two things I will not tolerate you destroying: Chewie and the Falcon. You destroy the Falcon, I am going to come and find you. I will. Because you can't take away my entire childhood. You've already taken two of them away. Leia, that's the three. That's fine. Leave Chewie alone. He's a little fuzzy. Oh yeah, admittedly, the one laugh out loud moment in the entirety of The Last Jedi is when the Porg is watching Chewie eating the roast porg. Hysterical. Absolutely. Just the look on its face while it's mortally offended about the big hairy git chomping down on one of his mates. Just genius. And if somebody just makes a gif of that moment, I'll be happy for the rest of my life. But do not destroy the Falcon. Please God. That's all I've got to say. Please don't do it. But I know, and even if I was writing it, I would be tempted to. I would be tempted to destroy the Falcon and Chewie and Leia and clear the boards completely. Because you want to recast it and you want it to move on. If you want it to move on past episode 9, you're going to need a new cast. You don't want to be hankering back. Star Wars is about a universe, it's not about a family. It's not about two orphaned kids. One orphaned kid. Yeah, it's very complicated, but it's not about orphaned kids. It's not about, it's about Jedi. It's about the Empire, the First Order. It is a massive scope. So let the Skywalkers die. That's fine by me. Don't continue it. Don't bring any more children in. If Rey transpires that she is the kid of Luke or another of Leia's children she's forgotten she's had, that will be poor writing. I love the idea that Rey is a nobody. That is such a big thing, because everyone's like, oh, it's Ben Kenobi's granddaughter, or it's Han Solo's illegitimate child, or it's this or that. She's not another Organa. She is Snoke's daughter. She's something. Her being a nobody is what the Jedi are all about. Anakin Skywalker was a nobody. Admittedly, he was there was no father either, which was stupid. But he came from a nobody background. He wasn't the son of anyone famous. He wasn't the son of a Jedi. I assume Mace Windu had parents. I can't see them being massive Jedis. Actually, Yoda somewhere on the line had parents. You know what I mean? Not every green little guy with ears is going to be a Jedi Master. Keep it that Rey's a nobody. Don't make it a lie. Just keep it. We like it. And then showing the kid back, on the gambling world, where he goes out to sweep everything up. He sticks his hand out and the broom comes to him. Genius. Leave it like that. Let the Jedis be. But destroying the Falcon will be the biggest mistake. And I can't say since Greedo shot first, there's been worse mistakes since then. Okay? It's been the biggest Star Wars mistake since midichlorians. There you go. Right then, so I've just geeked out quite majorly on that, really. So, that's it. It's been a new year. It's been great to have some time to myself, to reflect on everything that's happened in the last year. It has been a very trying year, I should say. But I've survived it. I have. There's a lot more off the radar than anyone will ever know, and there's not a lot more off the radar than I will ever say. But I've survived it. And people keep saying, oh yeah, this is my buzzword for the year, and that's my buzzword for the year. And I'm going to endeavour to be selfless. I'm going to endeavour to progress. You know what I'm going to do? If I have a buzzword for this year, it's me. Because this year is the year when I do what I want to do, what I deserve after all this time. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play a truly beautiful song. Now, I encountered this again a few months ago, and it's one of those songs that I have liked for a number of years. But when you sit down and listen to it, it is strangely depressing and uplifting. And it is one of the most iconic songs of the 80s at all, and that's something that's going to be prevalent for the next few episodes. Is 80 songs, the influences, the best songs to come out of the 80s. 99 Red Balloons by Nena, one of the greatest 80s songs. However, this is pretty close up to, or not, if not in, but around the top 10. This is the most depressing song by a band that have quite a cheerful name. I give you the amazing Joy Division. And I will leave you with that until next time. It'll probably be a couple of weeks, maybe a bit longer. Depends when I actually get around to updating this. So, take care guys, and I will catch up with you later.